Well, hello there.
Oh, they changed their recording button. It's
What?
just up top now. Like it used to pop up a box like in the middle and you had to click it away so I could see your beautiful face. Now it's just up top. Not even a problem.
Awesome. Man,
I'm
I'm
excited.
sure people just tuning in to listen are like, wow, let me keep listening to this thing.
It's your Zoom update for the day, gang, and it's exciting.
I guess, it's also exciting.
What?
This is the Life Unfiltered podcast with me, Ashley DeLeaf, and my bearded beau, Justin DeLeaf.
Hi.
See how simple that was? Like there was no interruptions, no like it's possible.
Here's the deal. I thought about filtering out in my brain that comment about the Zoom, but then I'm like, you know what? This is a Life Unfiltered podcast. I'm going to send it.
It is. I was as I go through and look, I am like a one woman crew of production when it comes to these podcast episodes and getting
She
them
is, and big ups to her, gang.
edited, the reels, getting it out there, all the things that are required, and probably
All the
not all the things
things.
because I don't even know all the things that are required, but we do enough to get this out there. Um, but it is interesting because the more episodes we do, and as I'm going through footage, like definitely pick up on some of our most popular phrases that we use. And I'm like, I wonder if other people find that annoying or endearing.
I mean, flip a coin.
I
It's
just,
probably 50-50.
it's just really interesting. Like the things that you don't know that you're going to learn from putting a podcast together. Kind of cool. You know
I
what else
mean,
is cool?
I don't know what.
I'm going to tell you. It's a new water bottle. And it's a new water bottle because look, first of all, you're the reason that I have this water bottle because you wanted a new water bottle. So we got the water bottles. But I'm just bringing it up because there are listeners out there who are right now going, oh, like I love it. Like, I just feel like I can drink rivers now that I have this new water bottle.
Well, here's the deal. And I know that's one of the things I say over and over.
That's
So
one of the phrases.
insert cue. Got it. Yes, I wanted a new water bottle. I had a nifty stainless steel. This is not it. This is the new one. Nifty stainless steel water bottle that I got from my employer, F&TS. Big shout out. And previous to that, I'd been drinking out of shaker bottles all the time. And
Because
I made the shift.
we don't have plenty of those.
No, we got billions of them. I made the shift to stainless steel and I'm really digging it. And so I wanted a new one because the one work gave me just didn't have a lot of water in it. And so I was filling up a lot because
It's
I drink a lot of
probably
water.
it probably doesn't have a lot of water in it because everybody else in your family drinks the water out of your water bottle.
That is also true.
I mean,
Dax
it
will
is
literally
really
be
cold.
within 2 foot of the cabinet that has all the cups and all the shaker bottles. And he'll be like, hey, Dad, can I have a drink of your water? Like, no, bro,
Right.
go pour your own water.
But it's like right there and ready. Like it's ready. Like it's there and it's cold and it's ready
Ugh.
for us to consume. So we just
So, anyway, I wanted to get a bigger stainless steel water bottle. And just so y'all know, like she's not just like a blind follower, like, oh, you're getting a water bottle. I want a water bottle too.
no.
It was a 2-pack at Costco. And so I got one, she got one. Because that's how we roll. Hashtag same team.
I mean, I'm not complaining about it because I wasn't gonna I would after my track record with getting new water bottle after new water bottle, thinking that it was going to change my life as far as the consumption of water. I had resigned myself to the fact that I was never going to get a new water bottle, not because I couldn't, but like I just shouldn't until I got my ish together with water intake. So it was actually nice that you wanted a new one and it was a 2-pack because I kind of got one
Well,
without
I'm
having
a
to
giver. But
have to
maybe
laugh.
that's what we should do for like the 50th episode special giveaway. We can give away some of Ashley's giant
I'm sure
pile
that's
of unused water bottles.
I'm sure that's what people want is my gently used water bottles. Although I have some really cool ones, by the way,
Some
because
of them are unused.
I don't just buy crap water bottles.
Oh no. Oh
That ain't
no.
gonna change your life.
Right. Why would we buy cheap water bottles to not use? No. Let's
But
shell out some dough so that these things can sit unused.
Here's the hack though. I think it's just you have to purchase a brand new cool water bottle like every 2 or 3 weeks, right? Because I use it at the beginning. Like I've already drank more water today. This is the first because we got it this weekend and we were out of town. So this is the first day it's in use. But like I have already consumed more water today than I probably have in the last 6 months. That's not
Put
true, but you know what I
together.
mean. I'm
The
just
less
saying, so
she don't like water.
it's always great like the first week or two, and then I'm used to it. So maybe I just need to get a new one.
Or maybe you just suck it up and drink the dang water like you're supposed to.
Like this,
Yeah, she's been walking around like
or
that
did
all
you like
day.
this?
No, I didn't. Nope. You can stop doing that immediately.
Okay, enough
Yet, please, enough.
enough about that. What do you got going on today? I mean, like, what do you want to talk about? I got some sun this weekend.
You did get a little sun this weekend, and you
That is,
are mighty sexy sun-kissed girl.
well, thank you. I like being a little less red than what I am. I think that's probably a little bit sexier, but thank you. I'm glad.
You'll get there.
That's that is a bonus of children who participate in outdoor activities in the spring and summer. You get to be outdoors while
Get some of
you're
that vitamin D
watching.
in your life.
Yeah, everybody needs more vitamin D. I
True
don't care how
story.
much vitamin D you're getting right now. You need more of it.
And we're talking like legitimate vitamin D. Don't get
Yes,
dirty with
not
it, you
like the
perverts.
D.
Whoa.
I mean, you
I
might need
just
more of
said don't
that in
get
your
dirty with it. Here you go.
well, it's unfiltered, and sometimes
Gosh.
that's the truth. People need a little bit more of that sort of
That is
D
true.
in their
That
life,
is true.
vitamin. So, anyways,
No, I saw something this morning that I found interesting. A guy posted and he said, you know, I see a lot of you guys that are killing it in the gym and that's great, or you're really having wild success in business and that's also great. But if you don't also have a great relationship with your spouse and your kids, or vice versa,
mm,
then you're not you're not meeting your potential. And and he said something else I totally forgot. But the punchline was we should be striving to live an all of the above life. Like we should be
mm,
striving to get after it in each of those areas.
I even have a
Nope, she's
utensil.
lost,
Oh,
gang.
I do have a utensil. No, I was looking the flower utensil. I was looking for something to write that down. Um, and what did you say? How did you say?
Uh, we should be
All of the
striving.
above.
We should be striving to live in all of the above life, and that's the big nug right off the top. You should be striving to live in all of the
Mm,
above life. It is not sufficient to be, if you're wildly successful in business and you make piles of money, but all of your personal relationships are crumbling, if your personal health is garbage and you're gonna have a heart attack at 48, like
and what? For
you,
what?
yeah, like what's the point here?
Yeah.
And so you got to figure out how to take care of each of those areas. And I think where a lot of people trip themselves up is they overestimate the amount of work that is going to go into each of those areas, right? Like, for example, on the health and fitness side, like dudes are big fans of looking at guys like Schwarzenegger and The Rock and, uh, Alan Richson, the guy that plays Reacher, right? And you see their amazing physiques and big muscles and all that, and you're like, oh, but I don't have 2 hours a day in the gym
Mm.
like those guys do. Well, it don't take you 2 hours a day in the gym. Like sure, if you wanted to be truly that big, maybe you got to invest that time, right? But to be healthy, to be living your best life, it don't take that.
Well, I would say, yeah. So it's both sides of that coin that not, people overestimate the amount of work it will take to actually feel and see changes in themselves. They also underestimate the amount of work as well. Um, I'm hoping
Well,
that
I
the
would say
dog
the
stops
I would
barking.
say the bigger underestimation is the amount of time, like lapse, weeks, months, years, whatever
Yes,
it's going to
yes,
take to get to that big level.
sure. Yeah, and this idea, this I don't know. I feel like we just kind of live in a world where we are so quick to dismiss something as possible for us or not, right? Like we look at things and we quickly, within a snap second, like decide whether or not we can do that.
Right.
Right. And actually, like this morning is kind of an example of we were lifting, right? And we were doing a chest workout this morning, and it was 5 sets of 8 reps.
Correct.
And we were doing chest press at the time, and I was pressing a higher weight than what I had normally been doing. And so I believe I did 2 rounds of that. But at the end of the second round, it was starting to feel really challenging, like the final 4 reps of the 8. So the second half, it felt like really hard and challenging. So in my brain, I was like, you have 3 more rounds of this. Like if you're already feeling this way with these last 4 reps after 2 rounds and you have 3 more rounds to do, you better drop the weight. And so I verbalized that to you, and you were like, no, you got it. You can do it. And I was like, dude, like that felt really heavy. And you're like, no, you can do it. Long story short, I did do all of those reps for the final 3 rounds. You came over and spotted. Obviously, they were in the last 2 rounds. I mean, I don't think that you didn't actually push my arms up. You just
I
kind of like,
put the absolute lightest whisper of a touch on your arms.
But my point there is that, our mind creates these stories so quickly in our brain to decide what we can and can't do. And the reality is,
There it is.
it's often full of shit, right? It's often viewing things out of fear, or fear of failure, or what if I can't do this, which is totally silly when it comes to so many things. Obviously, we're talking about a workout here, but it could be any other type of thing. But like, what's the worst case scenario here? Like, let's say that you weren't even in the garage working out with me. Like, what would have been so bad about me starting round 3 and putting up that same weight for the first 4 reps, and on the 5th rep, not being able to get it all the way up and setting those freaking weights down and going and getting the next pair under and finishing out the set? Like, what would have been so wrong with that? Nothing. Right? But the thing is like, there's nothing wrong with that. But yet if left to my own devices here, or not putting any sort of check on it with you, I would have just made that decision. Oh, I'm not going to be able to do that. And so I go and grab the lower weights. And now I cheat myself out of what I'm truly capable of, because as I showed, I was actually able to stick with that same weight that I had and finish the entire round. But like, I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't have been willing to, like I said, in this case, put myself in check with you, or if I'd been alone to try it anyway, at risk of finding out that what I thought was actually true. Well, it's like, if you find out what you thought was actually true, then you just adjust accordingly. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But just so often we're just deciding like, that's not possible for me. But I know that's not actually what your original thing was about. It's like,
Well, that's okay. I mean, that's good convo, right?
Sure.
Because one of the things we need to realize is that our brains, while amazing, fleshy, fatty supercomputers,
Ew.
well,
Please
listen.
don't describe it ever. There's Nana in the background, guys. Say hello.
Yep. Take care of the dog. Um,
Our fleshy brain.
Yeah, fleshy, fatty brain.
Fleshy, I don't like that word, fleshy. It makes me think of something else that we're not going to be talking about on
Deal
this
with it,
episode.
bro. Deal with it. Its primary purpose is to keep your walking flesh suit alive.
Right.
And so it views things like that as like, hey, I'm lifting this heavy weight up over my facial region, my chest, if this were to fall on me, this may be the end of the show.
I've thought
We
of that
can't
before.
we
That
can't
would
do this.
hurt. I
We
was
got to
like,
pump the brakes.
do I really want to smash my face today?
I guess, if something like that were to happen, we'd find out how unconditional my love is.
We sure would. We sure would. But
Might
yeah,
be
no,
heartbreaking for some people.
it is set up to quote unquote protect us. Unfortunately, like our times have evolved and the brain still thinks that we're like living back in the caveman days, right? And so the
Right.
things that we view, the things that our brain is looking at as potential threats now, they're not really 99% of the time. Like they're not actual threats on our life, but that's how it's functioning. And we have to override those kinds of thoughts with more logical thinking, which is really tough for a large percentage of humankind.
Well, and so what goes into that is, and Jesse Itzler digs into this in his book, Living with a Seal, that when your brain is telling you, oh, you can't do that or you're done with something, you're only like at 40% of your capacity. Because not only is your brain
mind blowing, like it's just mind blowing. And that's a really good book, by the way, if you've never read it. And the seal that he's talking about is David Goggins. But 40%, and I do think about that here and there with stuff, and it's like 40%, because that's not even like a lot, right? And you at times, like we can just think that we're like, oh my gosh, I am at max capacity. And it's like, no, we're not.
No, not even close. Because because the flip side of it is not only is it trying to keep us alive, but your brain, again, going back to your thing about the caveman, is trying to conserve energy, right? Because your brain is programmed thinking, man, I don't know if we're going to be able to eat again, bro. Like you might not want to do that. You might not want to spend all this time doing this, that, and the other thing, because we may not be eating anytime soon.
Well, like you just sometimes have to think about, like, have you ever been in a situation in your life where your back's been against the wall?
Yes.
Most people, I would like to think, have been in that kind of situation at least once in their life,
Metaphorically.
Where your back's against the wall. And you do some unbelievable things when your back's against the wall.
Right.
And so the problem is, in just day-to-day life, we don't function like our back is against the wall. And I'm not implying that every single day we should be living as if,
it's life or death.
Right. Although,
this is what she does. She's listen, I'm not saying this, but now that I think about it.
Although, like, why not? Right? Like, why aren't we living like, holy shit, I have to have urgency with this today, right? Like that's I actually just thought this to myself this weekend about something. Like, why are we not living with the same kind of urgency that we live with when we are in a state of chaos or emergency in our life?
Well, I think that you have to have curbs on that, though, right? Because I know for me, when I find myself in a chaotic emergency type situation, like the throttle is wide open and like it's very intensive.
Sure.
Right? You simply can't operate at.
I agree with that. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that I know what you're saying, and I do agree. The point I'm trying to make is, when someone, I'm just making up, or it's not even a makeup of an example. Like, there's been times in my life where like I've literally had like barely anything in the bank. Right. And when you know that there's barely anything in the bank and there's certain responsibilities that you have to take care of, like the lengths to which I would go to try to make sure I could get the money I needed to take care of the responsibilities I had, you get very creative, right?
Sure.
But then you think about times where that's not the situation and you don't act with as much urgency. And all I'm trying to get at as maybe we don't need to be living every single day as though it's life or death. But at the same time, maybe we don't need to be living every single day just like on coast mode, waiting to get back in that position again at some point, right?
Right.
Because
You gotta,
if you have the ability to do the kind of things that you do when your back is against the wall, then you probably have the ability to do a whole hell of a lot more in your life than what you're doing right now.
oh
That's
yeah,
my point.
you definitely do. You definitely do. I totally agree with you.
Even if you like functioned at 50% of the way that you function when your back's against the wall, like what would change for you?
Probably quite a bit.
You know? So, but going back to that, like all of the above life, this is a conversation that I have had on multiple occasions with some of my female clients in that, I want more for myself in life, but how do I also still meet my responsibilities as a wife, as a mother, at my job, those types of things? How do I do it all? And I don't so much think, well, it's not so much of like, how do I do it all, but being able to discern what's most important for you to be
Right.
doing. Because if we all were completely honest with ourselves, there's a whole lot of shit that we do in our life day to day that really isn't essential. It's not essential. It doesn't give us a return on investment in our life. It
Right.
doesn't help to move us forward. It doesn't make us better. It doesn't make our situation better. It doesn't make our family better. And so I think when we say, like, how do I do it all? What we're really asking is, how do I give the most to the things that mean the most in my life? Because there's all these other things, right? And so it's like, well, you take an honest look at the shit in your life that is not serving you and get it out,
Right.
firstly. But you're right with all of the above. People often think, well, if I just work out, I just need to start working out. It's like, well, no, like you can start working out, but if you're not fueling your body with good nutrition, those workouts aren't going to do a whole hell of a lot for you.
Right. Well, to go back to your point right before you got into that, Jocko Willink in his book Extreme Ownership classified it as prioritize and execute. Right. You have to prioritize what's that next most important thing and then execute on it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's not, to me, the all of the above life isn't like all of the above all of the time. Right. Again, you have to prioritize and execute. So, right, like right now, our kids are at school.
Mm-hmm.
We know that this podcast is important to the things that we want to accomplish in life. So we're prioritizing and executing on that right now. And it's what you were saying about working out and eating. If you just prioritize working out and don't put any priority on the eating side of it, like you're killing your results on the one side. And that goes across that whole spectrum, right? Like if you prioritize one segment of that life, all the rest of it by nature is going to suffer in the moment, hopefully, right? Like obviously when you and I go out to that gym in the morning and work out, like our kids are not an immediate priority, right?
Right.
One of the reasons we work out is for our kids. Don't get it twisted. But if they come out and they like, hey, could one of y'all make me some oatmeal or waffles, please? We're gonna be like, no, you can take care of it. We're doing this thing right now.
Well, and that's something is also a struggle of many of the female clients that I work with, is because it's like, well, if I'm working out and then my kids come, so they interrupt the workout and I have to help them. And it's like, no, you don't have to help them with that. I mean,
Right.
people just lack a lot of clarity on what their priorities are and then what it looks like to honor those priorities and what boundaries need to be put in place in order to honor those priorities, and then understanding the connection between them all. Because in this example, yes, like you said, our kids are a priority, but in order for our kids to be a priority, truly, we have to be taking care of ourselves, which requires us to set aside time to do that. And so we have to have boundaries in place so that that can happen. So taking that time to do that while our kids are sleeping or reading while they're waiting for us to finish or whatever, like that is making them a priority by setting the boundaries so that we can make our health a priority.
Well, and just to clarify, before one of you astracals gets crazy in the comments, okay, our kids are 12 and 11.
Right.
They're mostly self-sufficient. So that's why we can do it the way we're doing it now, right?
But that's
When they
how we
were
always did it. Right.
right. When they were toddlers and they weren't self-sufficient, like her and I would stagger our time so that one of us was available.
Or we
If
would bring them
need,
into our workout,
right.
right? Like how
We'd
often I
figure
have
it
so
out.
many videos of them running around like under me and over me while I'm, is it ideal? No, but like you got to do, right?
Right. And again, it's prioritizing and executing.
Yeah, and that's where I think when as we talked a bit ago about underestimating the amount of work that it takes to do some of these things, that was one part of it. This takes being intentional. Like it takes
right.
planning and preparation. Like you're never going to be able to implement something in your life for the long haul if you are unwilling to take the time to prepare for it, to plan for it, because nothing is just going to automatically happen. Like if it's important to you, you have to make a plan for it. So if you are wanting to be seeking your highest potential, if you're wanting to make sure that you're not winning over here and losing in these 4 other areas of your life, then you're going to have to sit your ass down and plan for how to make that happen. And it can happen. Dan Martell, entrepreneur, says that show me your calendar and I'll show you what's important to you. And I know for me, like this is something that I feel like you and I have begun to work on. We have a lot of work to do there, but like show me your calendar and I'll show you what your priorities are. I'll show you what matters most to you. And that's a hard one to face because a lot of us, if you look at your calendar, what you say is important to you is not where the majority of your time is going. So get it on the calendar. I work with my clients with that, right? Like schedule the workout on the calendar. You schedule a doctor's appointment. You make sure you stop in time to get to a doctor's appointment. I know I had that awakening a couple of different times where I would overrun during my work time at home when I had told the kids like, oh, we'll have dinner at 5, or I'll come out and play with you at 2. And I'm working and I just like work right into that time. And all of a sudden it's like an hour later and now I'm starting to play with them. But like, if there was an appointment on my calendar that started at 2:00, I would have made sure that I was off of that workload so that I could get to that appointment. So if it's on your calendar, it matters to you. If it's not on your calendar and you're not following that, then you kind of got to check yourself. Is that really a priority to you? But, a lot of people look at like having structure like that when you talk about planning so that you can have that all of the above life. They look at, man, well, I don't want to schedule every minute of my day. But wouldn't that perhaps help you to actually get more out of your days? To actually get more of the things that you want if you were more intentional about your time and where it was going? Wouldn't it allow you to live more of those things that you want to live as compared to now where you're like, well, I just don't have time for this. I can't do this and do this. Well, because you're not making a plan for it.
Right. Jim Rohn is a
And we got all the name drops today. All the personal development name drops. Like this is the episode to watch. Like,
well, and here's the deal. That's important because like we take time to fill our brains with that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And we take times to fill our suck hole with water, I guess, and then brag about it. But
I mean,
that's part of our routine for improving ourselves, right? Anyway, Jim Rohn, he's a management and leadership guru. He says it like this. He says, you can either make a plan for your life and then live out that plan, or you're going to live out someone else's plan for your life. And guess what they've got planned for you?
What they
Not
want.
much.
Well, not much for you. They got a lot of
Well,
stuff
right.
planned for themselves.
That's my point.
Right.
Right. Like they don't have plans specifically for you. And so if you don't take the time to do it yourself, like you're going to be living that default, and there's not much there for you.
And we often live like they do, you know?
Right.
Like I learned a lot of great lessons from my late father. My father passed away in 2007. That's probably not how you say that. 2007,
Well, some people just say 2007.
But one of the big lessons that he taught me was when I was in a position leading an extracurricular activity when I was still teaching high school. And there were some things that went down, and it was just, do I continue in this leadership role or do I not? And I would go to consult him on his thoughts because he had been in education for years, and plus he's my dad. And he was like, you've got to do what's best for you. And I'm like, well, I understand that, but I feel so responsible for these students that I, am leading in this program. And, the parents that have been so supportive and loyal throughout, the several years that I've done it. And I was doing so much thinking about what those people wanted. And I was doing less thinking about what was best for me long term. And what he kept coming back to is he said, Ashley, I understand where your heart is. And yes, at times we do, of course, want to consider the needs of others. But he said, let me ask you this. He said, in another year or two, when those students have graduated and their parents have moved on with them, of course, who's still going to be here dealing with the same situation?
Right.
Are they going to be there for you then? Are they going to have the investment now? He's like, no, like they're going to be going on about their merry way and you are still here. And again, as much as those people, I do believe, were invested in myself and leading the organization, like they're still looking out for what works for them, what was best for them. Right.
Right.
Because that's what humans do. There's still, right. And there's people that will
they're
argue
not bad
that.
people. It's just human nature.
You look out, right? You want to get the things that you want. And so it's like, you have to start thinking about what is best for me in my life, this one life, and making more decisions based upon that. From a job perspective, obviously, we've had a lot of conversations about that over the years. Your employer will not think twice about letting you go. Maybe a really good one will think twice about it, but you know what I'm saying? Like they will not think twice about replacing you if that's what needs to be done for the betterment of the company and the agenda that they have.
Right.
And
well,
we've lived that, experienced
right.
that. Both of us have.
Yes, we have. And, or if you get hit by a bus, like they'll have that position posted by the end of the week.
Right. They're not going to be like, oh my gosh, now what?
Fold up shop, Justin's gone.
And that's a really like unemotional way to talk about it. But like some things in life, that's just the way that it is. And the reason it's important to call it out that way is there just are too many people who are living their life every single day, not in their own best interest, not putting their needs first, not putting themselves on their own freaking calendar.
Right.
And it's like when all of these other things and people walk away from your life, you're left with you. And have you built the fundamental things that you need as a person to continue onward and be good. And a lot of people haven't. You take those things away and it's like, oh shit, I have a failing body. I am broke. I am completely wrecked mentally.
My
What do I
family
do?
doesn't talk to me
And my
anymore.
family doesn't talk to me anymore.
Well,
Hopefully you're
so
picking up what we're putting down here because again, this is a multi-layered onion.
well, and it's one of those things that you and I could probably just sit here and ramble on for the next 6 hours for. So
Yes, sir.
let's
Circle the
summarize
horses.
this if we can. So we're encouraging the lifers, ourselves, our children, to live in all of the above life. So if you had to whittle that down to just that's the big nug, live in all of the above life. So if you had to whittle that down to 3 little nugs, what would those 3, just a sentence, love or not, 5-minute rant here, just a sentence that people can take away?
What do you mean, whittle that down?
Whittle
All
it
of the
down.
above.
So to live in all of the above life, you need to me, this is mine, okay? You need to decide what you want out of that life.
Mm-hmm.
You need to prioritize and execute, right? Like we talked about. If it's not on your calendar, if it's not in your plan, it's not going to happen. So you need to have it prioritized and then you need to execute against that plan. And then to me, you need to review and evaluate and change where needed. So those are the 3 things I would say. Again, those
Gotcha.
are obviously like high level activities, right? But
Right.
to start moving towards an all of the above life, that's
Yeah.
my perspective.
So my 3 things would be uh get yourself on the calendar. And by yourself, I mean I literally mean yourself. I also mean the things that are most important to you. Um,
Things and people.
right. Get them on the calendar. Whether, and I'm talking about like date night with my husband, uh, workout time for me, activity time with my kids, right? That's examples of what I'm talking about. Get it on the calendar. You have to plan for it. If it's not there, it's not going to happen consistently, if at all. We all know this. Number 2, understanding that living in all of the above life doesn't mean you're giving the exact same effort and energy to the things on your all of the above list. And just to quickly summate that, I can be, is that a word, summate?
I'm baffled by it. It's a word. Roll with it.
Well, I mean, like to summarize that.
Yeah, that's better.
I like the way it sounds though, summate. The dictionary of Ashley. No, is that if I'm in a season where my business is requiring certain levels of my effort and time and whatever, I can give 100% there. And I can also give 100% to my kids, but that doesn't mean I'm giving 8 hours to my business and 8 hours to my kids, right?
Right.
It could be that like this week, there's a lot of shit that I've got to do for business that's going to take up like this big piece of the pie. And I'm going to give my all to that. But I'm also going to stay invested and ensure that I am giving my all of perhaps 3 hours of time to my family.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Being fully present. Yes.
So that mindset of like understanding that living in all of the above life doesn't mean that all of your priorities are getting the exact same.
Right.
But they are all getting prioritized. It just may
Right.
look differently.
They're all getting the exact same, but they're not all getting the exact same. I mean, that's
right. But you're not making fun of me. Like that made sense, right?
right. Right.
Okay.
Yes. No. Lover, I'd never make fun of you on the podcast. Come on.
Right.
Come on.
So
and number 3.
Get on the calendar, understand that everybody's not getting treated the same. You kind of said this, but it's that clarity. Like
That's
I have
okay.
to maybe be repetitive there. Clarity. you're not getting anything you want in your life if you don't have clarity. You're just not. And so you've got to be willing to take the time to slow down and ask yourself, what do I want? What do I want? And understanding that not everything in your life is contributing to what it is you want most in your life.
Right.
Oh, I think that was really like this is
Nope.
actually
Here
what
it
I want to
goes.
say is great.
Revision.
You said the word revision, and I thought you were going to take mine, but you didn't. Evaluate what you're currently giving.
I said evaluate. I said review.
Whatever.
I said review and evaluate and change.
But what I want to specifically say is audit.
Oh, there you go. That's a completely new word.
Like do an audit. Like where are you giving your time and energy and finances in your life? And are you giving your time, energy, and finances in your life to things that don't align with what you say your priorities are?
Right.
And if that's the case, then that's where you need to do what my bearded bow said and make some pivots and tweaks.
Oh,
Boom.
man, we just dropped it on y'all.
We sure did. That was great. I loved it.
I feel like there was some value there.
I feel like it.
And if you, dear lifer listener, also find some value, man, why don't you be, here we go with the water bottle again. Why don't you be a swell pal and like, comment, review on this thing and share it with your friends? Like, we got to get the word out. Other people need this, not just you. Don't be greedy. Spread the wealth, man. Send it to your bestie. Say, hey, check out these two clowns. They're weird. They say some off the wall things, but man,
really good shit.
They bring it. Check it out.
Oh, it has already been brought in.
Oh,
See you next week.
Bye-bye. I thought this was the episode that we were going to get through without trying to think of the proper adjective here. An over-the-top, unneeded movie reference from my wife. Because she always references like the movies that aren't that good. She's never bringing quotes from like all-time classics. Like that one, it's like from Step Up to the Streets or something stupid that maybe Channing Tatum danced in. I don't know. It's dumb. But like I said, I thought this might be the episode we'd get away from it. But no, here we are. It's been brought in. Have a good week.